Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the LSU Women's Basketball Tournament Update, sponsored by Hancock Whitney. My name is Zoe Collins-Rath, your host, and with us on the road, again in the car, is Scott Rabalais with the gang going to Dallas to see LSU in the Final Four. Where in the world are y'all?
We are we found a wide spot in the road just off of the interstate between Alexandria and Natchitoches in Lena, Louisiana, I believe. Population, it looks like about 12. Uh, but uh, but we're here. We're literally on the road to the Final Four, as everybody talks about the road that teams follow to get to the Final Four, and we are on it. We are on the road to Dallas for the Final Four practices and press conferences tomorrow, and of course the game Friday night between LSU and Virginia Tech at 6 o'clock on ESPN. So we're ready to bring you all the coverage, and we're ready to talk about the Tigers once again.
We are. And speaking of that road for LSU, they had a fantastic regular season. And since being in the term, they haven't had their best offensive games, even especially against Miami. They shot 57% from the free throw line, and Kateri Poole made the only 3-point shot in that entire game. Can you talk about what the offense needs to do against a team like Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I mean, quite simply, they're going to have to play better offensively. I mean, you could beat Miami, who kind of you could probably say ran out of gas after pulling three straight upsets to get to the Elite Eight. But Virginia Tech is playing very well. They scored 80 something points against Ohio State in their Elite Eight game. They've got some players who are scoring very well in the tournament. Georgia Amore, the guard, and then leads the tournament with 23 pointers. So so that tells you something right there. And then inside, you got a player like Elizabeth Kitely, 6'6", a real problem for, in the low post. So they've got a good inside outside thing going like LSU does with Angel Reese and Alexis Morris. So it's a challenge. I mean, they're going to have 54 points won't cut it in this game. And I think LSU's defense can continue to travel and play well. And I don't think Virginia Tech's going to score 80 points against LSU. But the Tigers are going to have to step it up somewhat offensively than what they've done so far. And their high scoring game was 73 points against Hawaii. The weakest team they've played so far, as you would expect.
Yeah, and Samaya Smith stepped up big time in that game against Miami. And I feel like there's LSU is looking for that one extra person to step up to help out Alexis Morris and Angel Reese. Do you think Samaya Smith can be that person, or could it be Flage, LaDeja Williams?
Well, Adasia Williams, of course, had the great game with 23 points in the regional semifinal against Utah. Really needed her to come through because Angel Reese spent a lot of the game in foul trouble. You're gonna need somebody else. I keep saying, LSU's. Reese is gonna give you a double points and rebounds. Alexis Morris, I thought could have been the regional MVP. Reese got it. Could have been the MVP of the Greenville 2 regional for the way she played, especially making those clutch free throws at the end of the Utah game to give LSU the victory. Uh, but they're going to need someone else in scoring. If Flaugier needs to break out of that funk that she's been in shooting the ball pretty much since the first half of the Georgia game in the SEC tournament, or they're going to need LaDeja Williams to come up big again. She was kind of in foul trouble against Miami in the regional final. Or, as you mentioned, Samaya Smith coming on the bench. Samaya is played very well, I think, for a reserve freshman. She's given the points, some rebounds, a couple of blocks, so some real good minutes, especially when LaDeja was on the bench with foul trouble. And then there's Jasmine Carson. I don't think she's going to start again. I think they'll probably go with Kateri Poole again in the because Kateri can shoot outside. Made the 1 3-pointer, as you mentioned, against Miami, but can also bring the ball up as a point guard. But if they could get Carson to come in and give them some threes off the bench like she did in the Michigan game, I think that would be big. But someone else is going to have to step up because, like I said, it's not going to be a game in the 50s with Virginia Tech. That's not how you're going to be able to win this one.
No, and Virginia Tech's game against Ohio State was very much a shootout type of game, and it was impressive. And Georgia Amore's shooting was unstoppable, and that's what really pulled them away. Do you think that LSU can compete with that type of shooting, since it can sometimes be very, very off?
Well, that's the part that comes and goes in basketball and a lot of sports, hitting in baseball, or the passing game and offense. What you got to have is defense and rebounding, and LSU's had that in these games. They've played great defense. Holding Michigan to 42 points, I think it was a low for Michigan ever in an NCAA tournament game. Holding Miami to 42 points, and then the rebounding has been excellent. They averaged out rebounding opponents by more than about 11 rebounds a game. That's big, and that's going to be tough again with Kitely inside for Virginia Tech. She's 6'6". She's taller than anyone LSU has on their team, but she's they're not a team with huge size overall. Amore is 5'6", a shorter guard like Alexis Morris. So LSU has to work to its strengths, I think, in this game. You're doing the things that they've been doing, playing disruptive ball. They had 12 steals against Miami. Playing good defense, especially on the perimeter. Like I said, Amore's got 23 pointers in the tournament so far, and then rebounding the ball. I think those things that have carried LSU through to this point, and I think will carry them again if they're going to win. But it's going to have to come with a little more offensive production, which they can do. I mean, this was a team that scored over 100 points a game to start the season. They had a great run of 100-point games to start the year. They're averaging more than 80 points a game for most of the season. They've got to get back to that somewhat, and play that a game where they're not just relying on the defense, because, like I said, 54 points just won't cut it in this one.
No, and when you could be playing a team like Iowa or South Carolina, you're absolutely right. 54 points won't cut it. Going into this game, LSU is a 2-point favorite against Virginia Tech, and LSU is plus 600 to win the national championship. Would you take that bet? Do you like those odds?
Well, if you're looking for someone other than South Carolina to go with as overall favorite, yeah, I mean, I thought it was very interesting to see LSU as the second choice. Now, as someone mentioned to me, well, maybe that's because LSU is playing in the semifinal opposite South Carolina. They don't have to play the Gamecocks until the final, and South Carolina has a chance, at least a chance, to get knocked off by Iowa and Caitlin Clark, who had 41 points in their regional final. LSU's. It surprised me, though, a little bit that LSU, considering Virginia Tech won impressively against Ohio State, that LSU is a favorite in this game. It surprised me just a little that and they've stayed a favorite. The last time I checked, just a little while ago, they were still a 2-point choice over the Hokies, who are making, both teams. Neither team has experience, but in terms of players in the Final Four, of course, Kim Mulkey has a lot of experience in the Final Four, but it was interesting that LSU has stayed out front. I would have thought this game might have sunk to a pick'em or Virginia Tech as a slight favorite. It still could move between now and Friday, but Vegas has liked LSU from the beginning. Going into the tournament, I saw odds that had LSU as the 5th choice in terms of favorites for the national championship. Now, South Carolina, of course, was an overwhelming favorite, and deservedly so. Their second choice among the teams left in the Final Four, and they're a favorite in this game. They were a favorite against Utah, which is this is a somewhat similar game opponent to that one. So something about LSU speaks to the odds makers in Vegas, and saying that to make them the favorite. People were saying, how could they be such a big favorite over Miami? I think it was like a 12-point line at one time. Mm-hmm. They won by 12. So I don't discount what the wise guys in the desert know, and the observations they make. So if you're an LSU fan, you have to like those factors, for your team just a little bit.
Absolutely. I thought they were going to be a pick 'em too, since the line opened up at Caesars with LSU as a 1-point favorite. And who do you think will be in that championship game?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still a 2-point favorite by Caesars for LSU on Friday night. I always kind of, not that I have a rooting interest, but I never like it teams and players and athletes who dominate too much. I like to see different people get it. So I would be excited to see Iowa and Caitlin Clark get in the final. I think she's a tremendous player. I would have voted for her for National Player of the Year if I had a vote. They've been great, and she's been fantastic, averaging over 27 points a game. having said that, it's impossible to pick against South Carolina. The Gamecocks they just seem to do when if it's just a defensive game, like I watched them play in the regional semifinal against UCLA, they just play that game, and they only scored 25 points in the first half, but they were still up by 10, and UCLA looked like they couldn't touch them. It was only a 10-point game. You're like, hey, if they finally get their offense going, never happened. But in their regional final game with Maryland started to score some points, put some pressure on them. They scored back. It's just seems like they do whatever they need to do to win. The LSU game, there's just something about this LSU team. I think the experience of Coach Mulkey in these games, in these situations, will help carry them through. I think that if they get that, like I said, that third player who can give them that good scoring game, along with Morris and along with Reese, if they find that, I think they have a chance to get through. And Dawn Staley said she wants to see an All-SEC final. Maybe that's because she beat LSU by 24 points the first time, but they're beating everybody, so that's no great sin. But I think it could be that on Sunday night. I think it's a real chance. But this game is very much a toss-up for LSU, like the Utah game was, a 3-point game in the regional semifinal. And I think we could see something like that, a similar score again, similar margin again on Friday night.
I agree, and I cannot wait. Scott, thank you so much for your time talking to me. You guys got to get on over to Dallas. I've been told Dallas traffic is unlike any other. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Zoe. Appreciate it. We're doing one more of these, I think, on Friday, the day of the game. So hope folks will tune in again. But it's been a blast. I promise I will be out of the car on Friday whenever we do the video. So we'll try to be in a good place.
Okay. In your car on the way to the game. It's still fun. It's the beauty of March Madness.
Literally, like I said, literally the road to the Final Four. Exactly. We are living the dream right now.
Yeah. All righty. Thank y'all.
Thank you.